Anti-LGBTQ Million March for Children was back again today across Canada. It's basically a protest against sex ed, especially if it talks about the gays. And while organizers said they expected 2 million participants, reality fell pretty short of their expectations. Like, here's what this counter-protester told me about Montreal.
So much for the Million March of people. It may be 24 people overall, of course surrounded by police and anti-riot police, so that's pretty much what we saw today.
Now, it started at 8:30 and I couldn't get there until my lunch, but you'd think with 1 million marchers this would probably still be going on. And the counter-protest was, but, well, you can watch for yourself. This is wild. I don't actually see any of the million protesters. I only see a bunch of counter-protesters. And I ran into some other journalists that are covering this today. I just spoke with some counter-protesters who told me that the police actually tear gassed and pepper sprayed them. And they said that the protesters themselves, the million marchers, who apparently there were dozens of, just dozens, not millions, were not tear gassed or pepper sprayed. So interesting. At this point, I decided to go for a walk and try to find the million marchers. I can't find any of the million protesters here, so I don't know where they went. I can't find them anywhere, so. Montreal it's just so beautiful though, eh? At one point, I spoke with Zeb, who was an organizer of the counter-protest, and here's what they had to say.
Having sexual education in schools, especially one that focuses on consent, which is what the current curriculum does. It's about consent, communication, conflict resolution, de-escalation, and then it happens to also sometimes include the existence of queer and trans people, because it is also an important part of the conversation. And studies have shown that this reduces both victims and perpetrators of sexual violence. So this really is about protecting all children. This isn't just about queer kids existing, but kids that have queer families or queer friends or queer loved ones. My child is 8 years old, and he's been beaten up at school before for having a queer family. Education like this is important to make sure that that is not happening.
But the crowds of people trying to stop that education were puny. And that goes for the demonstrations across the country, which I think sends a pretty clear message. What do you think of all this?